Yes. Here we are once again. And of course, if you're watching this live, that means it's Wednesday at noon Eastern time, which is always time for the High Noon Hemp Show. Of course, you can find us in many, many places. If you're on the Facebook, a lot of people still call it the Facebook. That's fine. If you're on the Facebook, it's the Temptations Beach Facebook page. If you're on the YouTube, it's the Jedi Hemp YouTube channel. And if you're on X, or if you still call it Twitter or the Twitter, whatever, at Temptations is where you follow. On there, I'm Stoner Jesus. I do various things in the interwebs you can search out. He is Beach. He loves hemp, and he is high above the Temptations and the Flower Factory in Northside Beach. How are things this week in the world of Temptations?
In the immortal words of Gwen Stefani, this shit's bananas. Bananas.
I thought you were going to say I'm just a girl.
that too. Definitely going to be a fight. Anyway, and so no, it is pretty crazy out there right now in the world, hemp related or not. So, but here we are. Thanks everybody for joining us here at High Noon on this Wednesday for the High Noon Hemp Show, full of good stuff mostly, and so tis what we do. Remember, the FDA has not evaluated this show for safety or efficacy.
Indeed.
All right, let's go ahead and do our pledge. I pledge allegiance to the hemp fields of America and to the soil in which it is planted. One seed under the sun with responsibility, sustainability, and thrivability for all. True that, true that. You know what else today is, Stoner?
Oh, it's one of the 7 days of the week. What other day? What else is it, Beach?
Help Day! Thanks, everybody, for joining. All right, so we have 295 days left to remove Section 781 from the final appropriations package. That is November 13th. Now there's a new bipartisan bill that puts the ban off until 2028. Again, this stuff is so bad. So bad. What they're trying to ban is so bad for us that they're not trying to remove it. They're just trying to say, hey, you know what? Let's take a couple more years. Let's just take a couple more years to save you from this disastrously evil hemp that we're banning. And so again, it's quite the farce because it honestly shows you how little in touch they are. And in the same breath, tomorrow, big old T Rump is going to sign an executive order that says we're going to speed up the process of rescheduling cannabis. This is going to speed it up. We're going to get it done. Bada bada bada. In the same executive order, they are going to make officially CBD covered in Medicare. Okay, so in the same year of banning hemp, they're going to cover CBD in Medicare. And guess what? It can't be after the ban goes into effect. Full spectrum CBD.
Yep.
So the only CBD products that will be available after the ban is CBD in its isolate form. No other anything. All of that has to be flushed down the toilet. Terpenes, flush them. Because they have to, I don't know. They might figure out how to, I suppose that I shouldn't say that, because there is something at one point or another, and I'm sure that this still exists as a description, but there what was called broad spectrum CBD. Okay, so basically at three categories. You had CBD as an isolate, just CBD, nothing else. Full spectrum CBD, which means nothing was removed. And then broad spectrum CBD, they removed the THC, which is technically what they will have to go back to now, actually, is a more broad spectrum, which is, the issue, once again, is that little amount of THC that you do not feel, 100% do not feel. Tested driving wise, there's not the negligible amount of THC in a full spectrum tincture or full spectrum anything. That negligible amount of THC is beneficial. It helps. There's zero reason to remove it. And there's only, you know, the entourage effect argument to say don't remove it. But anyway. So in Ohio, good old Ohio, it looks like there was a they're trying to get they were trying to get a voter initiative to basically stop or whatever SB 56. And my thoughts were great. Forget to get the money to get the signatures, that's great. Well, that doesn't matter because it was rejected. The wordage is again, I don't even know what the wordage would imply or how it would. Or, I mean, the only really thing you could say is overturn SB 56. Okay, the problem is SB 56 is supposed to go into effect in, say, March. Let's say it goes into effect in March. This wasn't going to get on the ballot until November at the earliest. And so by the time March to November comes along, the market is squashed. Government has done what they want to do. They've ran everybody out of town, so to speak. Or what they've really done is chased everybody into their town, i.e., the dispensaries, all the stuff. Therefore, having a monopoly control over these products, like the monopoly control that they have over the products now. The one thing we all railed against back in the day. I didn't. I was totally for legalizing cannabis. I didn't care if it was one grower, 10 growers, or 100 growers. It would have legalized marijuana in Ohio. And now what we've settled for is the state having stupid control. And when I say stupid control, I mean they're stupid with their policies and their laws and all the things they have done. We still continue to have the worst medical marijuana, some of the worst medical marijuana, and in fact, it is worst recreational. We didn't get pre-rolls in our recreational in Ohio until just this year, or just within the last couple months. you know, legally, I don't think you could have it in combustible form. I don't know if that was true for the recreational part, but if you bought yours medically, use your medical card to buy it, technically you weren't allowed to burn that by those policies. Again, terrible, terrible policies. And then now what they want to do is want to take the 100% legal hemp industry, 100 federally legal. And again, I'm going to go by the federal laws. Even if Ohio does what it's going to do, and even if the people don't stand up and fight this in Ohio, and again, this is my initial point to all of this, is to hire some lawyers with the money you were going to spend to get this voter initiative in and get all this stuff turned over. They're not legally, there is a legal argument for every part of SB 56, not just the hemp part. And so it makes zero sense as to how it is. And now, of course, once again, good old DeSwine coming out and be like, oh, I'm doing everything for the kids. We take away our freedoms. It's for the kids. We're going to take away your marijuana. It's for the kids. We're going to take away your hemp. It's for the kids. And which brings to mind, man, I don't know where you live, but walk outside and see if the kids are dropping like flies wherever you live.
Right.
Because it sounds like the kids are really, really in trouble in Ohio. And all in all, DeSwine, you've been the governor for 7 years. So whose fault is it if the kids are all in trouble? It's yours. You've had plenty of time to save these kids. I tell you, it's just all they're doing is hurting the adults of the kids that want to make adult decisions and be held for their adult decisions. It makes zero sense. What we need to do is grow hemp for food for the kids. What we need to do is grow hemp for clothes for the kids. We need to or build houses out of hemp for the kids. For that matter, we should be running combustible engines on hemp for the kids. We should be making everything that we can that's now made out of fossil fuels, out of hemp, for the kids. We need to stop cutting down trees and making all the wood products and paper products from hemp for the kids. What else can we do for the kids? There's nothing hemp can't do for them. So stop sending it backwards. Ohio, federal government, anywhere in the world. Woo! Man. Sorry about that, folks, but it had to be said.
Right.
All right, that being said, let's get on with the show and the product spotlight for the kids. Not all of these are for the kids.
Hey, some.
Some of these are 100% okay for the kids.
Gives me jacket.
This first one is actually a ladies' medium Arctic camo hoodlam jacket. No better time to get in to the store and get yourself a hoodlam jacket. I am listing these on eBay. And again, if there's a jacket on eBay and you don't like it, you can always message me through that auction and be like, hey, do you happen to have a men's medium large in black? And the next thing you know, I might. Probably not a large. But if you're looking for extra larges or XX larges in men's, I have a full line of women's sizes as well. So I am going to get more of the jackets listed. I should have been doing this earlier. I did actually just sell one last night. And it was a person locally in Cincinnati. So, pretty awesome. Anyway, it's some Just Hemp soap for the kids. There's nothing wrong with hemp soap. It's good for their skin. It's better than fossil fuel based soap all day long for the kids and the adults, of course. I mean, if it's good for the kids, it's good for the adults. We can just assume that, right? Let's just go ahead and assume that. Now, we don't want to assume that those things for the adults are good for the kids because obviously there's some issues there, including we just got some new gummies in. Everybody loves their. Oops, no, okay. We got some new flour in. We got some new flour. We had some old strains back in. So we got the blueberry back in. We got the Thai back in. We also have some uh, like grape cream cake. We got the Medallion back in if you like a sativa. Hash burgers back in. And I feel like I'm leaving one out, but you know what? We'll call it a mystery, and you just are going to have to come in and see. That's all there is to that, one way or another. And yeah, all federally legal hemp products.
Mhm.
Technically, the state of Ohio's hemp policies are back under the guise of the federal law, and so that's what I go by. So here's the gummies. Here's the gummies. This is the Fire Knockout blend. So this is definitely a nighttime gummy for the most part. Again, uh, there's a little bit of a lot of different things, and so I think that's good for the person that's not taking the gummy for the buzz, so to speak. But for sleep issues, anxiety issues, 100%, like, a half of one of these would help in the daytime with, and again, uh, there's two in there, but for someone that wanted to use them for things like that, especially during the day, you could cut one of those up into quarters and use that throughout the day. And that would really, that's not going to affect you. Mentally wise, side effect wise, but it will help with anxiety and those type of things during the day. Yes, it will. Um, and I'm not giving medical advice. I'm just giving the advice of the customers that have been coming in for the last, you know, however many years, telling me these things. Okay, these are based. My knowledge of all of these products is based on testimonials from customers that have purchased these products from Hemptations. And mine from my door. This is fun because I just found it and I'm using it. This is my raw hemp composite made out of hemp. I did switch the string out because, ironically, the string was, I believe, cotton. So I switched it out for a hemp string. So it's got a hemp string now. But basically, you put your cone. It's a cone stuffer is my best description. But you put your empty pre-roll cone down into the middle of the piece on the right when it's standing up, and this piece sits inside there. Um, and then you basically just kind of stuff your hemp down into there. Again, any one of those. Uh, any one of those flowers ground up would make a nice little pre-roll. I'm sure of that. So you put your hemp in there. So technically, if you use a raw hemp cone or a hemp cone of any sort, you have a hemp. You have hemp inside a hemp inside a hemp. So you put your hemp flower inside your hemp cone inside your hemp composite.
Hemp nesting dolls.
Let's try hemp in it. That is deep hemp use. Okay, I mean, this is my life. This is the life that I envision for all humans. Because I have been saying that if I can use it and do it with hemp, I'm going to. And again, I never stuffed pre rolls really until I found this, and then I had a need to because I had the right hemp flour, honestly, to do it. So it's come in handy. And then I can take that out and put my pre rolls that I've made inside the container, put the lid back on, and take it out with me. For wherever I may be going clubbing. In Cincinnati because we go clubbing. That's a straight up lie. Just so you know, if you're anywhere else in the world but the high state area, you know for a fact that we don't do much clubbing in Cincinnati. If they would make legal THC clubs, I mean, I guarantee you, I could make uh, you know, a cannabis-based club. You wouldn't need a fog machine
Right.
right out of there. You're saving your budget on a fog machine. You know, but could have different genres of music. Like you're gonna have a Grateful Dead night for sure. You know, but then don't think you can't throw out your good old dance, hip hop, all that stuff. So anyway, there you have it. 4 from the store, 1 from my door. Here on the High Noon Hemp Show Product Spotlight.
Indeed.
And now,
It's, of course, to the greatest segment in internet history. And lately, as of late, we've kind of had a tradition of making fun of a certain organization, the Guinness World Records, for many reasons, because we chronicle all of the hemp records that Beach currently has set and currently holds. And we go and see what the Guinness World Records is doing and what they're focused on because they have a policy, a stated policy. They will not cover cannabis and hemp records. But today's record is it's obviously we can make fun of it, but it's also kind of like BS because it's a clothing related record. This person has a clothing related record. And if everything else was the same, and the only difference was this clothing was made of hemp, the Guinness Book of World Records has a policy that they would not be able to cover this story. But what I'm about to show you was covered by Guinness World Records simply because it's a record and it was allowed to be covered because these clothing items are not made of hemp. They're made of something obviously horrible for the environment, most likely. And that's cool. And the Guinness World Records will cover that. But if everything else was the same and these were made of hemp, they would not have covered this story. This guy right here, he is a retired Philadelphia news anchor for CBS. He has the largest collection of socks. Apparently, he liked to wear colorful novelty socks while on TV. And then, of course, viewers caught wind of this and they would start sending him socks. So
sure.
now he has a massive sock collection.
I just, of course, nobody's sending any socks that had hemp leaves on them.
31.
1,531 pairs of socks, likely 0 made from hemp. And the Guinness World Records, boy, they're all over that. They love that. It's on their
Make a
Twitter.
record for how many socks you can put on as quickly as possibly in a minute. No.
They don't care. Beach, I don't know how many socks Beach has, but as far as a hemp record, I know it's more than anybody else, most likely.
Well, it's a very good chance. It's very good chance. I'm not saying for sure socks. There could be, Satori. He might have more. He might have more hemp socks than me, only because again I do have a lot of hemp Satori socks. But anyway, here we go, folks. If you're wondering today,
yeah, if there was if there was only an organization that would track these things and keep track of them and post them somewhere in an orderly fashion that everybody could access, that would be wonderful. But instead, it's just
is that a shot at me because I said I was going to do that, or
you don't have the resources. If you have the resources of the Guinness World Records and you still hadn't done it, yes, that'd be a problem. If you were flying around the world because some moron has Cookie Monster socks, then that would be a different story. But here we are. We're doing what we need to do. Every week for over 7 years, we chronicle these records in the Beachwear segment. All I have to do is ask Beach one simple question. He tells me all about it every week when I ask, what are you wearing, Beach?
That's true. If you're curious, it is a big blue Wednesday. So my Kentucky Wildcats play today. So try to represent, try to wear as much blue as I can. I will tell you that this hat on my head has never been seen on the High Noon Hemp Show. Hooty hoo! It has never been seen on the High Noon Hemp Show. That is a Lost Coast Harvest hat that I printed myself with the Hemptations and the 2034 Madison Road, and then there's a big hemp, says hemp real big on the back of it. So it's personally made by myself, never seen on the show until today, folks. That's mixing it up. Of course, that's a good old hemp hood lamb zip up on the outside there, seen on the show before. My shirt underneath my Hemp Town polo is one of my question mark long sleeves. I think I might have gotten this particular one from Enviro Textiles, but I'm not positive. My pants, I think maybe worn on the show once before, but maybe not, are the Just Naturel. I think I did just recently wear these because I've been trying to break out some of my more older, rarer pants, I should say. In my pocket there, some Green Springs Technology pen. Underneath it all, a pair of I Love Bad briefs. And then the socks are Satori Canaleaf socks. And those are a pair of Adidas Dakotas. Um, all from the closet of me beach. Um, the possibly, I would argue, possibly the largest closet. Now, I don't know. I don't know for sure. There might be even a challenge. I know at least one person that can challenge me for the largest hemp closet out there as far as hemp clothing, but
Well,
at some point or another, I'll count it all up. I really do need to count it all up.
that's right. We'll make the formal challenge to the internet. Say, beat
Yeah,
us.
that's true. I get the numbers, and then I've got the list
Mhm.
of just about everything hemp that I have owned or own. Um, so anyway, all right. Well, here is a randomly picked trailer from back in the day for once again a movie never made from Planet Everywhere Studios.
Yes.
Yes.
Hemp
Come
for all.
on. Most of that's pretty apropos, actually. I mean, most of the products still in the store. So, we're still on the journey. Um, I can almost argue that because I noticed we had not actually, we had our tincture made, but we didn't have our 1200. So there was a brief timeline there until we added the 1200. So and I don't think that was I don't think that was the first one that I made. I'm gonna have to go back and watch them all again and see. But there you have it, Hemp for All,
Indeed.
a movie we're trying to create every day. All right. Well, medical marijuana legislator, or the people that are overseeing the medical marijuana in South Dakota are blatantly just going after hemp and kratom in South Dakota. Now, once again, I want to remind everyone South Dakota is the largest grower of hemp in the country. Um, but their governor, I think she's still governor. Uh, Maybe not, I don't know. But she's never really been cannabis friendly at all. Anyway.
She's the head of Homeland Security now, I believe.
Oh yeah, she's that
Yeah.
lady. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's that lady.
Yeah.
That's right. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm glad she's not the governor of South Dakota anymore, I guess. But at least for the South Dakotans.
Right.
But again, this is the marijuana people going after the hemp industry, pure and simple. Again, blatantly, they're not even trying to hide it. Um, and so, if you're in South Dakota, just tell them to leave it alone, and leave kratom alone too. And that stuff helps a lot of people. It's all natural, and so once again, they have no right. They have no right to try to legislate it. In Wisconsin wants to make changes to their hemp policy, and they are described as clear as mud. So I don't know, I don't know what Wisconsin's trying to do, but apparently Wisconsin doesn't know what they're trying to do, because whatever they're trying to do is like no one can figure it out. Texas, once again, Texas just cannot get. I don't get it, man. It's like I think Texas has it figured out, and then they don't. And then I think Texas has it figured out, and then they don't. And now Texas wants to put a 13,000% licensing fee increase hike on hemp. 13,000%. Now, technically, and I haven't run the numbers here, well, I can do the numbers in my head. Ohio's trying to do the same thing. And by what I'm saying there is in Ohio, under these new regulations, according to them, and again, this has nothing to do with federally legal hemp. This has to do with their hemp under their medical marijuana policy now. All right, I want to make that clear. I'm not talking about the hemp that I sell, which is federally legal and legal in the state of Ohio under the Ohio's guidelines for hemp still, because they follow the federal guidelines for hemp now. All right, but they want to charge a $10,000, I think it's a $10,000 licensing fee, which is a 10,000% increase over the fee that I have to pay, which is nothing. And so that's exactly really what Ohio's trying to do. And anybody falls for it is, guess what? They have money.
Yeah.
But here's not going to be worth it for the average CBD store. For the average hemp store that doesn't sell the largest selection of hemp on the planet. And even if they came in and they had even if they had a legitimate argument that the products I was selling are illegal, which they don't. Okay? Even if they did, and I couldn't sell them. Sure, do I struggle yet a little bit harder than I want to? Yes. Do I close my doors? No. The only reason we're open now is because we've never put our eggs in one basket, because guess what? The hemp eggs are large and diverse. I want as many hemp eggs in my basket as I can get. Because this egg might be clothing, and this egg might be this, and this egg is this. Again, with all the products we sell, this egg might be a toothbrush, because we sell hemp toothbrushes. And so, um, you know, one of the reasons why we are still open in a world where everything is closing. I mean, I don't understand how anyone can believe that in America things are even relatively good when large scale restaurants going out of business I mean, it just seems like every week I see some big this place is closing 50 stores. This place again, I mean, it just kills me. And I'm pretty humble, but to be honest with you, I feel like it's a miracle Temptations is still open. And if it wasn't for you know the same desire that I had 30 years ago that I have now, I probably would have closed. Da-da-da. Well, a study showed that adding CBD and caffeine to your THC boosts the THC effects. Um, and so, you know, I don't know, like, maybe the caffeine, because again, here's the thing: cannabis normally, if you're smoking it, speeds up the heart rate. I don't know about the edibles. I don't think. I think the edibles act the other way. To be honest with you, if anything, they're good for slowing down the heart rate. I don't know. I don't know about that science there, but I do know that when you smoke it, one of the side effects of smoking it is the fact that it opens up it's a bronchodilator, so it opens up the small airways to the lungs, makes it easier to breathe, and increases heart rate and blood flow. That is a natural side effect. And so you put caffeine on top of that, and then the CBD I think would balance, but who knows? But once again, this is my point. Stop trying to take the THC out of the CBD, and don't take the CBD out of the THC, and get it all figured out. But stop acting like any of this stuff is unsafe. And of course, that's what once again, at least the rescheduling will say they can no longer say that there's a real health problem with using marijuana. But it also opens up legitimate studies for all things cannabis in the medical world, which is that's going to be huge. Once again, only affecting the rich people, um, because these studies will now go underneath probably the pharmaceutical companies, or who gets to legitimately, who is the FDA going to legitimately listen to when it comes to the studies? What are they going to base these things on? And so, what are these studies really all going to? I mean, there's an endless amount. There's harm studies, there's beneficial studies. I look forward to the harm studies because they're going to prove that it's not harmful, and we'll have you know legitimately recognized sources to prove it's not harmful. And of course, I look forward to the beneficial, because guess what? I've been seeing some really bunky supposedly medical science out there, that talks about how unhealthy, or how non-beneficial, I should say, whether it's pain relief or helping with cancer, how cannabis doesn't do any of that.
Mhm.
And again, these are the fear mongers and the moral people that are funding these shady studies to try to prove shit that is just not. We all know it's not true. I mean, until I see 10, blind, double blind studies, peer reviewed, blah, 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 that say this shit doesn't work for all the stuff that we say that it does,
Mhm.
there's no way I'm going to believe anybody that says it doesn't. I mean, I have to take my customers' word for it. The customers don't buy these products, because it doesn't do for them what they say it's doing for them. I mean, how far can you take the placebo effect? You cannot take the placebo effect to a cream. All right, there's just no way. again, yeah, I don't think you can take the placebo. I mean, if it is the placebo effect, it's a hell of a strong placebo effect because we're talking about millions of people that have fallen for it. Anyway, article 15 foods high in zinc for better immune health, according to dietitians. Number 12, hemp. Now, just 3 tablespoons, we see a lot of the 3 tablespoon thing. 3 tablespoons of hemp seed contains 3 milligrams of zinc, which is 27% of your daily value, a quarter of your daily value. Gets you from just 3 tablespoons of hemp. And it would not be absurd to think you could eat 6 tablespoons of hemp a day. I'm just saying. You can eat as many tablespoons of hemp a day as you want to. It's only going to help you. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see. I don't know if I could. I don't know if I could. I would have to take a um, vast approach at hemp foods. Like, I would really have to work out a way to have all the hemp foods donated. But how about this? Here's the challenge. If I can get enough people on board to do this, and you send me enough hemp food, I would love to survive on a mostly hemp diet for as long as I can. I don't know how many days, and then just see, like, what does that do? What does that do to my body? I need some help with this one, folks. But this would be a brilliant, brilliant study, honestly. I'd get my zinc and all the other stuff. Well, there's more on that later. In fact, there's more on that now. Another article, and it says it was on the healthiest milks, not alternative milks, because 1% dairy milk was on there. And I feel like there was even another dairy milk, but it was specific. So this was just a healthy milk list. Um, and I quote, "And our final healthy milk of this round up is hemp!" Exclamation point. These are those words. While there are literally dozens of niche milk varieties, hemp is one of the most notable for a few reasons. It has it has 9 essential amino acids, all 9 essential amino acids, omega-3 fatty acids. It's lower in calories and has a notable amount of vitamin E, calcium, iron, zinc, magnesium, potassium, and phosphorus. And it says here in Pacific Foods, and this is the one you're going to find in your grocery store, most more than likely, but it's not in the cold section. Okay? It'll be on the bottom shelf of a very small product placement that has either alternative milks that don't need to be refrigerated or alternative foods that might normally be refrigerated that aren't. Again, it's a really weird. Every time I find it in the grocery store, it is normally bottom shelf or second to bottom shelf. But I can identify because I know what their packaging looks like. It's a rectangular box. Anyway, but Pacific Foods original hemp milk, again, the one that I see more and more in most grocery stores, almost exactly measures up to cow's milk in calcium and protein content with impressive levels of vitamin D. All right. Most people don't drink hemp milk for its nutritional value as much as they drink it as an alternative to dairy milk. Okay? But here lies proof that it can have the nutritional value And there was a rumor, and I don't know where this law went, but there was a rumor at some point or another that said, and this might have been somewhere that a state passed, but I don't know, that said you can call your product milk, but you have to actually compare your nutritional value to dairy milk's nutritional value. I don't know that that ever came to fruition. Either way, um, one way or another. This is interesting because I brought up the subject of roots, the hemp roots, before, cannabis roots before. There's one root company that made lotions and um, products like that for a while. They're out there, and again, it's the most underused or understood part of the whole plant, other than we know those roots work great as a phytoremediator, which means it cleans the soil as it goes. But a 3-year study on hemp roots showed that they contained neolignans, and those showed promise in killing pediatric cancer cells. Should I repeat that? Okay. In the roots of the plant, we have possible neolignans that showed promise in killing pediatric cancer cells. So, again, and this is a 3-year study. And I think the hardest part of the study was finding the neolignans, finding what was really in that root that may potentially be beneficial. And then I think once they did that, then again, maybe there's a correlation that they know that those neolignans help kill pediatric cancer cells, or they got enough of those neolignans together and proved in a petri dish that they killed pediatric cancer cells. I don't know. On the micro medicinal side of things, again, now we may have these studies to find out, if we directly inject cancer with cannabinoids, what happens? If we get to it in time and we somehow doesn't, and we've seen certain cannabinoids, and we should say, we have seen certain um, genetic compounds of cannabis that kill cancer cells or stop the growth of cancer cells. I've reported on that before. So again, the science, we have a lot because we've been living in these draconian atmosphere with cannabis. It's medicinal as well, and the pharmaceutical companies wanted it that way. Trust me, man, they are trying to figure out, and they are. I reported last week. They are, starting to try to figure out how to get on board. And this is the big move now. Now you're going to see, man, all these pharmaceutical companies are going to start getting patents for, this medicine with THC and this medicine with this terpene and this medicine with this and that and all whatever. And once again, we can get all that naturally without having to worry about the pharmaceutical companies. But what this will help us with is saying, hey, this particular formulation of things must help with this particular disease or ailment. So I'll just go out to my natural source and get it. We're never going to get the true therapeutic part of the plant other than, again, this is the toughest part about it is you cannot get all of the therapeutic benefits out of it other than when you smoke it. No, I'm not promoting smoking, because I realize that's not what our lungs are designed for. But this is a known fact. And when we alter it in any way, you're going to lose something. You're not going to have what's in that flower. All those things that are in that flower, 500 and 550 is roughly what they used to say. Just I saw someone post something about 700, and again, I don't, science is going to have to work that out too, because we're still finding new and different genetic compounds of the plant. That's why, again, we can't synthetically replicate it. There's too much there. And again, until we prove that smoking it is bad, I will continue to say it's the only way to get the most benefit out of the flower. The therapeutic benefits out of the flower. We're going to start isolating everything. We're going to realize, hey, this one's better for this, and then blah, blah, blah. And then you're going to have your formulation of these cannabinoids and these terpenes and this, and then they're going to add something of their own, and then they're going to say, well, this is a patent on that. You can't have it. And once again, just go out and find the same flower that fits that profile and use that. Put it in a pill form, or you can continue to use it as we have used it for thousands of years as a medicine. All right, so I actually already talked about that. Oh, the Prairie Band Potawatomi Nation, they grow hemp, and they grow hemp without irrigation, without insecticides, and they do not plow. Okay, which is, again, straight up genius. And you don't need to. And, whether you put the plant in the ground from a seed or you put the plant in the ground from a seedling, a small plant, as a lot of crops are planted these days, you don't have to plow. The machine that drops the seedling into the ground, it's just on the back of the tractor and just goes and rotate, and you just put your little seedling in the thing, and it takes it and puts it in the ground, biggity boom. It drives it into the soil. It loosens up that soil right there. And that's all that plant needs, man. That's all that plant needs. You give that plant soil in any form for the most part, and those roots will find a way. And so now they're going to take that hemp, and it's going to be used to insulate a 364 square foot home. And the savings of energy by using hempcrete as an insulation and solar, the house will be self-sufficient power wise. And they look to actually sell back to the grid to have extra power. But it's being actually built by the Kansas State University and Habitat for Humanity. And so this is going on in Ogden, Kansas. And again, what I really truly love about this is it's Habitat for Humanity. And I hope that the use of hempcrete spreads through Habitat for Humanity, like it deserves to do, and like I think they would have an appreciation for.
Yeah.
I think there's no better reason than humanity to build hempcrete houses, hempcrete buildings. It's flame retardant, antimicrobial, antibacterial. It sequesters more carbon than trees when it's growing, and then continues to sequester and hold carbon as a structure. That's beyond me. Again, it's so angry sometimes to think about why not every Crete dwelling that can be isn't hempcrete. But every day, we're getting a little closer, building those houses. Oh, it's I don't. I can't think of any good words. Sorry. Sometimes I can do well, sometimes I can't when it comes to those things. But anyway, um, we're going to leave the show as we normally do with a couple hemp nut recipes. And I've decided to read. I don't know why I didn't start with this, but I'm going to read the first part of the first page, the first couple paragraphs of The Reign of Law, which is what I closed the show with last week. So this recipe, we'll leave it up here so you can get a screenshot of it. This one I did bright red deadhead bread in memory of Bob Weir, who passed this week. For all my Grateful Dead friends and family, personally, I like them. I don't love them, but it's a huge loss in the Grateful Dead world. So in honor of him, how about a recipe, a hemp oil recipe, um, dread dreadhead bread. I don't know what makes a dreadhead bread, uh, but there you have it. All right, so this is from um, the Reign of Law, printed on hemp paper. The Anglo-Saxon farmers had scarce conquered foothold, stronghold, freehold in the western wilderness before they became sowers of hemp. With remembrance of Virginia, with remembrance of dear ancestral Britain, away back in the days when they lived with wild child, flock, and frontier, wooden fortresses, and hardly ventured forth for water, salt, game, tillage. In the very summer of that wild daylight ride of Tomlinson and Bell, by comparison with which, my children, the midnight ride of Paul Revere was as tame as the pitching of rocking horses in a boy's nursery. On the history making 12th of August of the year 1782, when these two backwoods riflemen, during their same revolution, the Kentuckians, then fighting a branch of the same British Army, rushed out of Bryan Station for the rousing of the settlements and the saving of the West, hemp was growing tall and thick near the walls of the fort. All right, we'll throw our next recipe up there. I think this is a semi-simple one there for some lassi, which is, I believe, like an Indian thing. Hemp in Kentucky in 1782, early landmark in the history of the soil, of the people, cultivated first for the needs of the cabin, and clearly solely for twine and rope, towel and table, sheet and shirt. By and by, not for cabin and clearing only, not for tow homespun, fur clad Kentucky alone. To the north had begun the building of ships, American ships for the American commerce, for the American arms, for a nation which nature had herself created and had distinguished as a seafaring race. To the south had begun the rising of cotton as the great period of shipbuilding went on, greatest during the 20 years or more ending in 1860, as the great period of cotton raising and cotton baling went on, never so great before as that in that same year. The two parts of the nation looked equally to the one border plateau lying between them, to several counties of Kentucky, for most of the nation's hemp. It was in those days of the North that the Constitution was rigged with Russian hemp on one side, with American hemp on the other, for a patriotic test of the superiority of homegrown, home prepared fiber. And thanks to the latter, before those days ended with the outbreak of the Civil War, the country had become second to Great Britain alone in her ocean craft, and but little behind the mistress of the seas. So that in response to the double demand for hemp on American ship and hemp on the southern plantation, at the close of that period of national history on the land and sea from those few counties of Kentucky in the year 1859 were taken well nigh 40,000 tons of well cleaned bast. All right. There you have it. And there ends the reading of The Reign of Law, a tale of the Kentucky hemp fields. All right, we don't have a whole lot of events. We do have, I believe it should be the 3rd of February is the medical marijuana meetup, Mad Tree Brewing. This here that's on the screen now, this is for kids that are in between the age or in between the grades of 6 and 12. This is for Earth Day Cincinnati. This year, Cincinnati Earth Day is going to be held at Washington Park. I have, over a long time ago, I used to be on the board of the Cincinnati Earth Day organization. They used to ask me to come and speak on hemp. They haven't asked me over the years, but I promote this as wholeheartedly as I can. For the record, the very first Earth Day happened 12 days after I was born in 1970. And so that is what it is. Yeah, they're on the shelf. I'll be done in 2 minutes. Give me 2 minutes. And so this is the submission for the art contest that they do every year. And the student that wins the art contest, their art goes on the t-shirts and the promotions, and it's all part of this year's Earth Day. And again, the theme is Green Cincinnati. And you just kind of read through this. They also get, I think, like $250 in gifts and things, and so there's a monetary value to the award, not only to the prestige, but again, it has to be hand drawn, no AI. Don't even think that that's going to work. And so again, once again, you can see original art only, no color or medium restrictions, and it just has to include the theme. So somewhere it has to say Green Cincinnati, and other than that, whatever you want. And again, they need to be in by the 17th, and you can see you can mail it in, or you can do a digital copy. And I'll get this up. I posted this on my Facebook page. Is the link directly from Cincinnati Earth Day organization. So, all right, there you have it, folks. Thanks everybody for watching on this fine Wednesday, the High Noon Hemp Show. Remember, reduce, reuse, recycle, make everything else out of hemp. Happy temptations.
See y'all next week.